What's up, Womack Nostalgia? Dave here with the best music of 2024. Gonna get into 3 top 10 lists here. My top 10 albums of the year, my top 10 songs of the year, and my top 10 K-pop songs of the year. Listen to hundreds of albums, countless other singles every year. Keep a big list, running lists throughout the year. Gotta rank them. That's what we do at the end of the year. And happy to jump right into that. Please leave a comment. What are your top 10 songs, albums? Let me know. Let's jump in with the best music of the year. What's up, Womack Nostalgia? Dave here with my top 10 K-pop songs of 2024. Yes, talking the best K-pop songs of the year. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot of contenders. I thought it was a pretty good year for K-pop, all things considered. Certainly a lot of ups and downs, there's controversies, comes with the territory as we know. I'll talk about that as I go. Gonna run through my list 10 to 1 here. I didn't repeat any artists, any groups for the sake of keeping the list more interesting and diverse. And of course, I'll also talk about some honorable mentions and songs that just missed the cut at the end as well. And of course, leave a comment. Let me know, what are your favorite K-pop songs of the year? What was the song you kept listening to the most? I want to know all of it. Please let me know. See the link below for the Nostalgia K-pop Reviews playlist. Every song I'm going to talk about in the top 10 list, I reviewed the whole album or EP that song was a part of when it came out earlier in the year. So for my extended thoughts on any of these songs or projects, make sure you check that out as well. And of course, make sure you come back because we're going to be talking about a lot of K-pop in 2025, of course. So jumping in at number 10, I have Lost by RM. This was off RM's second solo album, Right Place, Wrong Person. Of course, this album was pre-recorded before RM did his military service alongside his BTS bandmates, and then this was held and then released this year when he was in the middle of his service. Same thing happened with the Jimin album this year. A nice surprise for sure. And the reason I have Lost on this list is simply that this is just unlike a lot of the other songs you get from K-pop. I think it's very introspective. It's honestly not super poppy, to be honest, but there is a kind of a fun, consistent drum tempo on this. But RM lyrically is talking about something that's been a consistent theme with these 2 solo albums from him, kind of speaking about loneliness and his self-worth and things of that nature. I think it's a pretty interesting song on an interesting album that I thought was overall up and down, but to me this is the clear highlight of the album. And of course, RM will be done with the military service next year. We're almost there at this point, so whether we get another RM solo album, I would not expect that anytime soon, but I think he certainly gave us 2 interesting pieces of work, and this is probably one of the best songs he's ever made. So coming in at number 9, I have Walk by NCT 127 off their album Walk from this past July. I am not the biggest NCT fan. I talk about this all the time because they release a lot of music, so it comes up, but I often struggle with the various NCT subunits and telling them apart, the musical identities and whatnot. Such a vast group with making so much music, it's hard for me to get in. NCT 127 is clearly the most interesting force within NCT to me, that I think they're the most consistent with the hit making. And a song like Walk to me is kind of like everything I want from NCT when they're humming, when they're doing their best. It just kind of got like their unique blend of pop melody mixed with hip hop. It's very upbeat, it's dancey. I love the energy on the track. I think it's really one of my favorite NCT 127 songs, bar none, because they're a big group. They're able to play off each other vocally, and I think that's where this song really shines, especially in the early verses where there's lots of little harmonies and different vocal inflections, different tones and stuff. This is, to me, ideal NCT. Coming in at number 8, I have Game Boy by Rose. This is the newest song on the list, and I know what you might be thinking. It's like, oh wow, Rose all the way down at number 8. She had one of the biggest, songs in the space of the year with APT featuring Bruno Mars. The album Rosie, which just came out earlier this month, big success commercially. Critically, I think it's quite successful as well. I liked a lot of songs on this. The reason I have this song lower is because I don't really view this album from Rose as a K-pop album, even if Rose obviously is a K-pop star. Blackpink, we know the drill. Rose made this album not with YG Entertainment, not with the Black Label. She made this album with Atlantic Records as a soloist. She made this album in the West with Western producers. The album is almost entirely English. It doesn't really have the K-pop DNA, even if Rose is a K-pop star. And I even think like she would openly admit that she wants to not just be in that one box that she, rose to fame with. That being said, I still think about her as a K-pop artist, and I think these songs are great. You could pick a lot of these songs. I mean, 3 a.m., Toxic Till the End, ABT, Game Boy, Drinks or Coffee. A lot of great songs on that album that I liked. And I chose Game Boy because to me, this is probably the best, like, pure pop songwriting on the album. I think it's incredibly catchy, incredibly earworm. The hook is great. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit underappreciated because it's not one of the big singles. It's not a music video song. It doesn't have the Bruno feature. So shout out Game Boy. You could pick a lot of songs off this album. And my way of getting beyond the fact that it's not really a K-pop project at all is just by having Rose a little further down the list. So shout out Rose. Number 7, I have Butterflies from Nayeon off her second solo album, NA. When Nayeon gave us her first solo album 2 years ago, I was quite impressed with it. I thought it was really compelling. Nayeon immediately standing out as a soloist, as an artist with her own musical identity apart from her work as a member of Twice. And I like that album a lot. I think there's some great highlights. Pop, no problem. And then when I saw that we're getting a second Nayeon solo album this year, I was like, oh, that's kind of fast. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. I thought they were going to be spreading the love a little bit with the other Twice members, but no, we get NA, and not only is it good once again, but it kind of like re-impresses you, re-establishes Nayeon as a compelling face, because I think she takes another artistic leap on this album, just in terms of having, I think, a bigger musical identity, a bigger personality with her solo music than she might do as a member of Twice, which has a different sonic palette. And the lead title track on that album, ABCD, I like quite a bit as well, but I actually think the second track on that album, Butterflies, to me is the biggest highlight of them all. I mean, there's just I think an awesome energy. Like she really does make pop bangers. I'm a big fan of her solo work. Number 6, I have Rush from Twice off their EP With Youth from the beginning of the year. Now, I know you might be thinking, I thought you had a rule not repeating artists, and that is true. But to me, Nayeon's solo work is very different from her work as a member of Twice, and I wanted to honor both because I think this song Rush is just an absolute gem from Twice. This is an album cut, not one of the singles, but I think it's just really catchy, has excellent melody, has some dancey moments, some moments where the tempo really picks up. I think it's a catchy song. I think there's some beautiful singing on it. The members all get to really kind of show out on this. I think it's a great Twice song. And I wanted to pick a Twice song this year, partly I really like that song, but like Twice had such a banner year. Like they're just incredible work ethic from this group. The With Youth EP, where Rush is from, that was the beginning of the year. Then they also had a Japanese album. They had the album Strategy, which just came out this month. Of course, the Nayeon solo I mentioned. You had the Chewy solo. You had the Misamo Subunit album. They're busy. They're all over the place, but I still think they're doing really good work. I considered Strategy, which I also think is one of the best songs Twice has ever made, especially because it's a little bit outside of their normal wheelhouse. But I wanted to stick to Rush, partly because I think it's a little bit under-celebrated as a song. Number 5, I have Something Ain't Right by XG. I think at this point, my top 5, these are all songs I have a lot of passion for. I think these are clearly the gems of K-pop this year. Now, of course, XG, not exclusively K-pop in the traditional definition. I talked about this in the review, but they promote their music as part of the K-pop system, so they're very K-pop adjacent. So we'll just leave it at that. I kind of went back and forth on what song to pick here because I also really love their song "If You Know, You Know," and I think I switched it multiple times about which song I wanted to lead with. But I kind of think about them in a similar way, in the sense that to me, this is just like the perfect like ethos of why XG is popular and a really exciting group, even despite the fact that they only given us a handful of songs really to this point over the last 2+ years. But Something Ain't Right, man, like this is super up tempo. It's a dance beat. I think the pop melody on this song coming together on the chorus, excellent, just so catchy. And then you have these really upbeat rap verses, and we know how capable and high of a floor XG has rapping. Same thing with If You Know, You Know. Again, I think about these songs kind of in tandem. They're both singles to the last album. And yeah, I mean, I think this is just one of the most fun songs you can just kind of put on. It just keeps you going. It keeps you moving. I think it's great, and it's just a great showcase for what makes XG. Number 4, I have G Idol's Wife from the beginning of the year. Now, G Idol got a lot of plaudits and won some awards from their music from the beginning of the year, but that was actually with the lead single Super Lady. But to me, Wife, accompanied by a amazing music video, is I think the true gem from them this year, because the music video, for one, just really, I think, stands out as kind of obviously the best K-pop music video of 2024, because it's I think it's very creative, and it's so atypical just in terms of conception, in terms of visual, in terms of the cinematography of it, in terms of like where the members stand and like what's going on. Like, I think it's one of the most creative dance videos we've gotten in a while. But the song also, I think, is just so awesome for its memeability, its meta commentary about, female independence and not needing to just be a wife, and the way it goes about that with a song that is beat, catchy as hell, funny, also kind of quirky. You think about Soyeon and her, creativity as one of the most impressive K-pop, creators, someone who actually writes her own songs and stuff. And I think, to me, this is one of the most impressive things that they've been involved with, because it's just message wise very much above just about anything else you get in traditional mainstream K-pop, and that's what makes it so cool. Number 3, I have Midas Touch by Kiss of Life. Now, you obviously cannot talk about 2024 K-pop without talking about Kiss of Life, and it's kind of been a miraculous rise for this group, which is not on a big 4 K-pop label, and they really exploded this year once Midas Touch took off. And of course, this continued with Sticky in the summer, and then of course later on with Get Loud and Igloo in the fall. They had an amazing year. You could argue they had the best year of all. To me, they probably had the second best year of all K-pop groups. I'll get to who won in a bit. Question though is, like, what is the actual best song they put out this year? Again, Midas Touch, Sticky, Igloo. I think all those have a great case. All 3 of them, massive online, super viral, also excellent tracks all in their own regard. But to me, I think Midas Touch, maybe it's because it's the first song that really put them on the radar, and like that bias is like rooted in my like thinking about the group. But to me, this song really stands out because it kind of has all of the Kiss of Life, energy, and what makes that group itself on like full display in terms of the way the chorus, kind of drops in, the beat drops in the chorus, very almost like 2000s, like throwback and stuff. The kind of like awesome like energy and presence that Julie has as a K-pop rapper on full display. So like that perfect, to me, like mix of hip hop and pop into like what makes K-pop K-pop in the modern sense. That's what you get in a song like this, and it's also super on trend because it's taking like old school pop influences and bringing them in. It's a banger. I also was lucky enough to actually see them perform live this past fall, which was awesome. The first K-pop show I've ever seen, and they did not disappoint, and this song was a big highlight. I talked all about that show when I saw it, so check that video out if you missed it. Number 2, I have Like That by Baby Monster. I've wanted to love Baby Monster ever since they first debuted, because I'm a big Blackpink fan. YG's next girl group was going to have my attention no matter what. And I've struggled with the overall output from Baby Monster, which I feel like is a bit cynical, a bit kind of beneath this clearly very talented group of women. Yet, when I got a song like that this past spring, that to me is like the perfect distillation of why this group is still compelling and why I'm continuing to be invested in their future output, because I think there can be great stuff in the future. Like That stands out because it's not this kind of mismatch, not well written enough song from YG like most of the other songs they give to the group is. Like That, of course, famously, infamously, was written by Charlie Puth. You can actually go on YouTube and hear the unreleased version of Charlie singing the song himself. And instead, you give the song to Baby Monster, and then you have some classic K-pop rapping from Baby Monsters to in-house rappers who are very capable, Ruka and Asa, and this song just blossoms. And why does it blossom? Because Charlie Puth wrote it. He is one of our great pop songwriters. The melody on this is so catchy. It's simply just excellent pop songwriting. I find the song so catchy, so fun, and for a while I thought it would be my number one song of the year until what actually topped my list for me came out, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I have to drop Baby Monster down. But to me, like, this is the promise of what this group could be, and frankly, what a lot of K-pop could be with a little bit of a different thinking. The other side of things, maybe you think that's a bit too Western, that's kind of getting away from what made K-pop K-pop. I certainly think there's truth in that as well, but sometimes taking like this kind of song structure convention and also just the excellent quality of the writing, and you put it on a song like this, it really stands out. Lastly, that leads us to number one, my best K-pop song of 2024, and that will be Whiplash by aespa. aespa actually made my top 5 artists of the year on my Spotify Wrapped, because aespa to me is the group that won K-pop 2024. I thought Kiss of Life had a great case, but to me aespa is the clear winner of them all, because release after release, it was just banger after banger. And I've been someone who's been quite critical of aespa coming into this year. I've often thought that the musical output did not match the potential. Obviously, they're on SM. We know they can sing. We know they're talented. But to me, a lot of the songs have been quite underwhelming, since we got Next Level, back in the day. And they really, to me, leveled up without question this year. Think back to like the first release of the year, the first full-length album from the group, songs that could certainly make this list, like Supernova or Armageddon, huge bangers. You get the Japanese single Hot Mess later on, incredibly catchy, love that track. Then you had them all release solo music, capped off by Up, the Karina solo track, which is incredible. It's another song I considered for this list. And then they somehow find a way to top that year off with the Whiplash EP release in October. And that title track, Whiplash, is my number one song of the year, because like this is a pure club track. Like the beat, the bass kind of flows through you. This BPM is awesome. And man, all 4 aespa ladies, they shine on this song so much. I think it's so groovy. The beat and vocal mix is just right. I find this song so catchy, so easy to revisit. I bump it in the car all the time. It's not often you hear a K-pop song that is as electronically rooted as a song like Whiplash is. Of course, we hear electronic production all the time with K-pop. That's not new or novel. But Whiplash is truly a club joint, and it's also one that's executed on quite well. I just love this track so much. But again, I think more than anything, like aespa won the year. There's a good 4 or 5 songs from them that you could have put on this list, but to me, Whiplash was the best of them all. So that's my top 10. I'll get into my honorable mentions in just a second. First, let's recap my top 10 K-pop songs of 2024. Number 10, RM's Lost. Number 9, NCT 127's Walk. Number 8, Rosé's Game Boy. Number 7, Nayeon's Butterflies. Number 6, Twice's Rush. Number 5, XG's Something Ain't Right. Number 4, G Idol's Wife. Number 3, Kiss of Life's Midas Touch. Number 2, Baby Monsters Like That. And number 1, my best K-pop song of 2024, aespa's Whiplash. Let me know, though, what were your favorite K-pop songs of the year? What would your top 10 be? So yeah, in terms of honorable mentions, let's see here. So Tomorrow Togethers, I'll See You There Tomorrow. I had that on the list for a long time. I ultimately moved them off, but I thought that song was super groovy. I mentioned some of the other songs from the same groups that I didn't pick. So like aespa, I also love Supernova, Armageddon, Hot Mess, Karina's Up, Kiss of Life, I loved Igloo, Shadow Get Loud as well, Rosé, APT, Toxic Till the End, 3AM, Twice, Strategy. I want to shout out I for Ice Queen, which I liked quite a bit, probably one of my favorite songs they put out to this point. I mentioned If You Know You Know for XG. I want to shout out Mantra from Jenny. And then Stray Kids, Chick Chick Boom, I Like It, some good songs. Stray Kids didn't make the list this year, but they did make the list last year. I had S-Class number 1 last year. I expect them to be back soon. Ultimately, kind of a quieter year for K-pop men. My list is 8 to 2 women, and That's really just because of, what we got. I think TXT was solid this year, but kind of unspectacular. Nothing rising up. Same thing with Enhypen. I didn't think this was their strongest year. In terms of the BTS solo stuff, of course, I represented RM. The Jimin album, despite several massive tracks on that album, we're talking billion stream songs, didn't really land with me. And then, yeah, of course, someone who's also been a staple on my list before would be New Jeans, who I just don't think had their best year musically. And that's before we talk about all the controversy and negativity that's unfortunately happened with the group. But like, they released 4 songs this year. How Sweet didn't really land for me. I think the best songs they put out were Right Now and Supernatural. Kind of bringing in New Jack Swing as like a new musical influence, apart from their already pretty consistent, throwback, 2000s vibe that they've been doing. But to me, those songs just kind of pale in comparison to the amazing highs they've had with all their music to this point. And I just really didn't have the passion to put them on the list this year. Another group that I like quite a bit, but didn't really make the cut for me this year was LE SSERAFIM. Between Easy and Crazy, I just didn't really have a song that I liked as much as the other songs that I did pick. All in all, I listened to over 50 K-pop releases this year, the most new K-pop music I've ever listened to. Gonna keep that going next year. I really do enjoy following the genre, in part because it moves so quickly. Groups will have multiple releases in a given year, and it's just so fun how quickly it moves. Now, part of that can be unfulfilling at times because K-pop traditionally takes the easy way out more often than not, releasing short EPs more frequently and not really giving us full artistic albums. Looking at my list, top 10 songs here, only 3 of those songs are actually on like full-length albums. Most of these things we're talking under 30 minutes. So the projects are often short, and even if they don't often hit the full mark as like artistic bodies of work, the genre moves so fast they're always going to get something new. I think it's a real fun thing to follow these days. And of course, as a fan of pop music, as a fan of rap music, the 2 main things I follow, K-pop combines the two. But yeah, let me know again, what'd you think of this list? What would your list be? Of course, make sure you come back, see the links below for my top 10 songs, top 10 albums of 2024. That's, of course, across all genres. Also going to be doing that for movies and TV for year end. See the K-pop reviews playlist below if you missed anything earlier in the year. And make sure you come back next year because we're going to keep it going. What's up, welcome back Nostalgia. Dave here with my top 10 albums of 2024. Yes, talking the best albums of the year. Of course, if you missed it, see the links below for my top 10 songs of the year and my top 10 K-pop songs of the year. Also going to be doing movies and TV soon. As a reminder, anybody on my albums list I didn't put on the songs list, and vice versa, just to keep the list a bit more diverse. Also of note, I reviewed all of these albums in full when they released, so for extended thoughts, make sure you go back and see those. With that being said, let's jump in. At number 10, I have Remi Wolf's second album, Big Ideas, from July. I thought this was a really nice step up from Remi, and also was pretty warmly received in her most successful album to date, which is great to see because I think she's one of the most intriguing and just blatantly successful artists in indie pop right now. She has this very effervescent, big, fun voice, and then also makes a lot of really fun production choices on this album, a lot of like doubled vocals and whatnot. All of it comes together, and I think this really both light but also buoyant and very summery album. I think if you like indie pop, you like really like up tempo indie pop, it's really hard to beat this. But also Remi as a vocalist just immediately stands out with a very unique voice. At number 9 for me is Fred Again's 10 Days. I love this record. I think the concept of it is also really impressive. You have these 10 songs representing these 10 days, and it's a really fun kind of evolution of Fred Again's music as he's gone a little bit less sample heavy and is now more interested in working with like direct guests with features and whatnot. There's a reason Fred is one of, if not the most in-demand, like new DJ these days, and it's because of just I think the life that flows through his music in such a unique way. I think for house music that at its core can be, repetitive in its loops, I think Fred is able to just flourish in such a way that it just really kind of grabs you. Whether it's the really frenetic energy of a song like Places to Be featuring Anderson .Paak, or I think just the very catchy, repetition of a song like 10, I think the song Peace You Need, very triumphant, very powerful as well. I think this album's like really incredible. 2024 was a great year for electronic music albums, which is not something we can say often, given EDM is not always an album first medium, and Fred was a big part of that this year. Number 8 for me is Alligator Bites Never Heal by Doechii. Doechii really impressed me with this album, and now alongside SZA, she's the face of TDE, and she's certainly their most successful new recruit in the last 8 years. Like it's awesome. But Doechii straight up just really bust out with this album as one of the best rappers we have right now. Her rapping ability is on full display with this, like technical ability, flow, rhyme scheme, you know, intellect as well in terms of like double entendres and whatnot. Just really captivating rapper. But this album also pulls no punches at all. There are huge in-your-face songs, and I think you have to like look no further than a song like Nissan Altima. Just kind of knocks your socks off. Really awesome album, and I'm happy to see that she's finding a lot of success and seems to be really, keeping this momentum going. It's certainly well earned. Number 7 for me is Hyperdrama by Justice. Again, we had a great year in EDM. This was another one of the banger albums that we got from electronic music this year. Justice also had a lot of pressure on this album because it had been 7+ years since they had last released something, and what they gave us with Hyperdrama was a really, I think, cohesive, finally made album. Is it a bit sanded down and perhaps a bit less in your face as their past work? I think so, but they're just operating at such a high level that whether it's the use of their synths, just I think the song construction, a lot of guitar on this too. It's quite different from Fred again. This really impressed me. Number 6 for me is Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator. I think to some people this is probably going to come across as low, and I think for me that's because Chromacopia I think is the least successful of the recent Tyler the Creator albums. But Tyler the Creator is so great that even the album that I like the least of his last, 3 or 4 is still really great. And that's because Tyler, he's just so interesting. He's just so unique. His concepts, his album, conception has no peer these days. And Chromacopia has so many ideas and so much inside of it. And yes, not all of it works, but a lot of it does. And it's just unlike anything else you get in the rap space. And Tyler is also not afraid to experiment with genre and do stuff that's a lot softer and a lot more melodic and whatnot. And yeah, I think this might be a bit lacking in the absolute peak Tyler the Creator, like individual songs, but there's still some great songs on this, whether it's Sticky or Saint Chroma or Ratata, etc. It's a great album nonetheless. Number 5 for me is Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter, I think, blew everyone away this year. Someone who had been around for some time, obviously the Disney beginnings, some early hits like Nonsense when she broke away from Disney. But this year, with this album, keeping it, kicking it off with Espresso, just an instant classics, never leaves your head pop earworm, keeping the momentum going with an equally massive song, Please, 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 then actually delivering with the album, featuring other big songs that are great, like Taste or Bedchem. I think Sabrina's just pop appeal really blossomed. In a sense, she kind of stole Dua Lipa's lunch money because a lot of the appeal of Dua's music is now the same appeal we find in Sabrina's music. And obviously, the pop girl summer that we had this year with Chappell Roan, whose album was from last year, of course, Sabrina and Charlie, was really special because we finally had, newer faces at the top of pop for the first time in quite some time. Sabrina also was very adept at having like her own lore, and you can find that in the music. So there's just a lot under the surface with her music and her artistry if you care to look for it as well. Just, I think, a really impressive year, and now she's an A-list pop star. I certainly didn't see that coming a year ago. Number 4 for me is Kendrick Lamar's GNX. Now, I did have Not Like Us as my song of the year, and normally that would break my rule of repeating artists on both song and album list. But Not Like Us is not featured on GNX, and that was enough of a separation for me that I could include both. And how could you not include GNX on the best albums of the year? Because Kendrick was able to take the momentum and the great success of Not Like Us and give us just kind of a classic LA rap album with a ton of G-Funk on it, a lot of really fun features from lower profile local LA rappers, and repeating the success of Not Like Us a handful of times on songs like Squabble Up and TV Off. The production is excellent. Mustard is back once again. Is this the most complicated Kendrick album from a lyrical standpoint? No, far from it. Is it the best Kendrick album? It's not. But it's one of his most accessible, probably the second or third most accessible, right? I think only Damn is more commercial than this, I would say. And it makes sense because it fits the moment of where his career was at this year. And, I think there's still kind of iconic songs on this, like TV Off, with the use of those violins, the way they dance with those horns, and then the switch up with the iconic Mustard yell from Kenny. There's a lot to really be impressed with on this album, and it's fitting that he did give us a full length this year because it just caps off the absolutely behemoth year that he had. Number 3 for me is In Waves by Jamie XX, another album that was anticipated for a long time. The last Jamie XX album was 2016, I believe. A long wait. And Jamie XX is the reason that EDM albums were so amazing this year, combined with, of course, Justice and Fred that made the list. I had 3 EDM albums on the list because they were that good. When I listened to In Waves the first time, I listened to it in the car, and I remember like my jaw dropping multiple times. This is just the most cohesive, the most seamless electronic album I've heard in some time. I think the vision on this and what the album is able to do, the way it switches up, the way it changes, the way it evolves across its track list, just really mind blowing, and the reason why Jamie XX is one of those critical favorites, because he just really stands out with a few peers in terms of the type of music he constructs, and it's truly an album experience that you don't often get from EDM. Whether it's songs like Batty on the Floor or Daffodil, there's just so many amazing highlights on this album, and again, the sequencing is just spotless. Number 2 for me is Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. Beyonce, you know, able to make a dance album in 2022 and Renaissance, and it's incredible. That was my album of the year that year. This year, she's like, fuck it. Let's make a country and Americana and folk album. For a lot of people, it is their album of the year. For a while, it was mine as well. Number 2 for me. Beyonce's just that talented, that capable, that she can put on any clothes she wants. She can wear any new genre wig, and she's going to do it well because she's that great of a singer, that great of a writer, and she works with that many talented people that she can kind of create whatever she wants. And it's so impressive to me that Beyonce, who's had a long career at this point, continues to want to reinvent and try new things, and it's just very impressive. Of course, this continues something she had done before. Think of like Daddy Lessons on Lemonade. The country didn't completely come out of nowhere, but to do a full album with it, I think certainly did. To me, the song Bodyguard really stands out as one of the great songs of the year without question. And it would have taken a lot for Beyonce not to win Album of the Year from me again, but something did happen. And that was, of course, Charlie XCX releasing her magnum opus in Brad. Listen to me before, I'm a big Charlie fan, seen her live before. I talked up her past work. Her past albums have made my list. The last 2 did anyway. And I've been a big fan for some time. To me, she's always been the most interesting, the most groundbreaking pop artist we've had in the last, 10 years or so. And then she found a way to somehow top all of that with the best thing she's ever made in Brad. Just everything that's appealing about her in terms of her kind of genre-pushing experimentation, and somehow it's presented in an almost even more poppy and like mainstreamly accessible manner with Brad. When I heard the album right away, it just kind of knocked my socks off. There's just so many great songs on here, whether it's Apple or the lead single 360, which is one of the catchiest songs she's ever made. The track list is stacked. And then she somehow found a way to blow my mind all over again with the Brat remix album. Initially, the way the remixes were coming out, the Girl So Confusing remix with Lorde and all the storyline behind the scenes, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And they did it again with the guest remix with Billie Eilish, which became a massive hit. And I was like, oh, they're doing pretty cool things with the remixes. I was not expecting a remix album for Brad, to take it to the next level the way it did. But this is basically a completely new album where the majority of that remix album track list are complete reworks of the great songs of Brat. And in some cases, you get something that's even better than the original, such as the Club Classics remix on the remix album, right? I think of the Apple remix, which is completely different. I think this remix album on its own merits could make a top 10 list, but just the fact that when you can compare it to Brat, then you take these two, I think, really compelling bodies of work and see what was able to be done with these already existing songs. Really mind blowing stuff to me. This album, the instant I heard it, I was like, that's the best thing of the year. There's no way that's being topped. And in fact, it wasn't. Unless maybe the remix album, in a certain sense, might have topped it. Which, again, shout out Charlie. I'm so happy to see all that success, including Grammy nominations, which have often eluded her. And yeah, I mean, the pop year that we had, certainly unexpected, but really welcome. So just to recap, my top 10 albums of 2024. Number 10, Remy Wolf, Big Ideas. Number 9, Fred Again, 10 Days. Number 8, Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. Number 7, Justice, Hyperdrama. Number 6, Tyler the Creator, Chromacopia. Number 5, Sabrina Carpenter, Short and Sweet. Number 4, Kendrick Lamar, GNX. Number 3, Jamie XX, In Waves. Number 2, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter. And number 1, the best album of 2024, Charli XCX with Brat. And of course, let me know what were your best albums of the year, what would make your top 10. And as far as honorable mentions, of course, I just talked a lot about the Brat remix album, which is a big honorable mention for me. I have to shout out Kaytranada. I think Kaytranada, Justice, Fred Again, and Jamie XX. Those 4 are like really like those are the signature EDM albums of the year and why the year was so great. And Kaytranada didn't quite make the cut for me, but was still quite good. I also really like the Schoolboy Q album, the 21 Savage, the Ariana Grande album, which I think wasn't quite as big as people expected, but I liked it for the subversion, the fact that it was a bit different from what she had been doing. The Lupe Fiasco album, Matt Champion album surprised me, Benny the Butcher, JPEG Mafia. I like the Nicki album quite a bit. Her song Focus made my songs list instead. I like the Vince Staples album, Dark Times, quite a bit. His song E2 made my songs list instead. And then just real quick, I think in terms of like the biggest disappointments of the year, there wasn't anything huge, but 3 albums do stand out to me. 2 of them are kind of legacy acts that there was at least some hope that maybe a return to former glory could happen, but now I think we have to just think about these artists in a different light, and that would be Katy Perry and Justin Timberlake. And the Justin Timberlake flop in particular is quite disappointing because I think we just have to kind of let that go at this point. And then also disappointing to me was this is an album that I think was more well liked by others than it was for me, but I really did not care for the MGMT album. It just was not what I was looking for. I know some people had a lot of good things to say about it. I'm not one of them. But yeah, that's my best albums of the year. Let me know what you thought, what your albums were. Again, check out the songs list, the K-pop list, movies, TV, best of 2024. It's happening. Subscribe, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, linktree.com/nostalgiapod. Of course, make sure you come back for next year when we're doing new reviews of stuff as they come out. What's up, Old Man Nostalgia? Dave here with my best songs of 2024, my top 10 songs of the year. Gonna go through my list 10 to 1, talk about what songs I love the most this year. All these songs but one were on an album I also reviewed, so check those out if you want more extended thoughts. Of course, see the links below for my best K-pop songs of the year and my best albums of the year as well. And make sure you come back for movies and TV top 10s as well. We're in the season. It's best of. It's top 10 season. Let's go. So coming in at number 10 for me is Whiplash by aespa. The last few years I've been holding the number 10 spot on my list for the song that makes my number 1 K-pop song list. And this year that was pretty easily for me, aespa's Whiplash, a song that I absolutely adore. I played this song a ton, partially the reason why aespa was in my top 5 for Spotify Wrapped artists. This is, I think, a really catchy song just because it's like a pure club banger with K-pop like grafted onto it, and I just find it so catchy, so compelling, so pulsing. The beat is so easy to revisit, but also the vocal performances from the 4 aespa members also really stick with you. I think it's just a great song, one of the best songs aespa as a group has ever made, part of the amazing year they just had. Kind of an easy inclusion for me, number 10. Number 9 for me is That's So True by Gracie Abrams. I'll be honest, coming into 2024, I was not really up on Gracie Abrams. I was not a fan of the first album, hadn't really been paying attention to her too much. As we know, the female pop space is very busy, very competitive, so you got to really stand out to, I think, command people's time. And Gracie, to her credit, really found an audience and leveled up with the release of her second album, The Secret of Us, back in the spring, or rather the early summer. And you could easily take a song off the original release and put it on the top 10. Big hits like Close to You, I Love You, I'm Sorry, Risk. I'm sure you'll see those on other lists. But then what really grabbed me with her totally was when in the fall she released the deluxe version of The Secret of Us. That's where That's So True came out, and this song just immediately exploded for her. And that was when I really got it and understood the core appeal. Simply put, Gracie just writes in a way that's very relatable, very appealing to a large swath of people. And it just makes a lot of sense that in the Taylor Swift pop world that we live in, someone doing something similar like Gracie does would find an audience eventually. And I think she kind of leveled up. The songs just got better, and then That's So True just kind of became undeniable. I think this song is very catchy, but also I love the way it pulses. I love the way it propels itself forward. I love her vocal inflection. She does a lot on the song with her singing. It kind of goes up and down. And then, like, in terms of, again, her writing, like, a line like, I think about your dumb face all the time, just kind of instant classic in terms of this type of music. The song's a banger, and honestly, Gracie, I think she beat the Nepo Baby accusations at this point, because the work is there now. She's, of course, the daughter of J.J. Abrams. So yeah, shout out Gracie Abrams. That's that one album that I didn't review this year at all. Everything else on the top 10, I did talk about the album the song is from. But yeah, shout out Gracie Abrams, number 9. Number 8 for me is Vince Staples with Etouffee. Vince, he's a regular on my list, album or song, one or another. Usually there's something I really enjoy about what he puts out. And with his latest album, Dark Times, this is a song that when I first heard it, it immediately grabbed me as, okay, that's clearly the best song on the album, and that's clearly one of the best songs Vince has ever made. And I think just simply like the dark, matter-of-fact rap verses that you get from Vince, something he does a lot, matched with this kind of triumphant chorus where Vince, does kind of more melodic singing. I think it's like an absolute like home run of a song, and just one of the best Vince songs, like bar none. It kind of knocked me out the first time I heard it. Number 7 for me is Happy Music by Headie One. Headie One also made my Spotify Wrapped Artists Top 5, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. I did a lot of like catalog listening to him as I was doing kind of some playlist management on Spotify. I think that partially contributed to it, but also because I listened to his new album from the summer a lot, the album The Last One. And on that, a lot of songs I like. But Happy Music immediately stood out to me because this is a drill song. Obviously, Headie one of, if not the best UK drill rappers. We know what he does at this point. But this is a UK drill song where lyrically, it's kind of Headie talking about his own mental health. It's like therapy drill. That's what immediately popped in my head as a way to describe it. So it has that catchy yet haunting, drum production that we associate with modern drill. And then you have Headie rapping about a lot of stuff he normally raps about, but also like I think really like giving you this introspective, super personal look inside his head and what he thinks about things and how he feels about things. And he's certainly a great storyteller, but that to me was a side of him that I've never really heard, at least not in this way. Number 6 for me is $1 Million Baby by Tommy Rickman. Obviously, this is one of the biggest songs of the year, really exploded in the spring, and I immediately loved the song. It's the follow-up single, Devil Is a Lie, I also loved a lot. I think I've even played that song a bit more, to be honest. And I think about these songs in the same light, but these two songs together where Tommy Rickman, just his falsetto that he leans on a lot throughout his music, but that falsetto just really grabs you, and this very funky throwback production, just a kind of an instant earworm, especially on the hook with this song. And while I didn't think the album quite lived up to the early promise of these big hits, it's pretty clear that he has something here. He has kind of a knack for pop melody, but he's doing it in a throwback, throwback style. And this song really blew up on TikTok and became a genuine hit for a reason. It's just that catchy. Number 5 for me is Kehlani's After Hours. The Kehlani albums have been up and down for me for a while now. I've never loved any of the albums completely, But there's always songs, there's always moments, there's always choices that I really appreciate about Kalani's music. And after hours, when I heard it, I was like, now that is the Kalani I like. That is some of the best work she's ever done, because this is, not more of a stripped down R&B song that she does a lot. This is super up tempo, super fun, kind of party bop from Kalani. So it's like, that kind of banger quality, but coached in the Kalani sauce, so to speak. I think this song's very propulsive. It's very fun, and I kind of wish she made more songs like this, to be honest. My number four song of the year is "Burn" by Kanye West and Ty Dolla Sign off the album Vultures One, the first of the two albums they released this year. Those are albums that are largely unsuccessful. Vultures 1 better than Vultures 2. I talked about both albums at length. And there's a few highlights on those songs. I think a lot of people would point to Carnival off Vultures 1 as the biggest hit of them all. Certainly a song I like a lot. But when I first heard Burn, I was immediately grabbed. I think this is bar none one of, if not the best Kanye West songs of the 2020s. Like and obviously that isn't saying a whole lot. His music is in decline, as we know, but I think this song is absolutely incredible because it's such a throwback to when his music was great and we used to love about him, despite all his warts, despite all his problems, right? That was a song that when you hear it, like, wow, like that's why he's one of those guys. That's very throwback, like 2000s Kanye. So self aware, so introspective. I think about this song the way I think about Reborn off Kids See Ghosts in 2018, where it's the same kind of feeling, where it's like, wow, this is like a brief moment of old Kanye brilliance, which we just don't really get anymore. So I think Burn, it's a short song, but I think the Kanye verse is absolutely incredible. And then Ty, he croons so well. He matches so well with Kanye on a song like this. More than anything, a song like Burn just leaves you wanting more because you feel like it's still in there somewhere, but we just don't get it as much as we want nowadays. Number three for me is Focus by Nicki off her album Buzz from the late summer. I was lucky enough to even see Nicki perform live this year, and I love this song live. This was the clear highlight of Buzz to me. I think this is where Nicki's like really stellar songwriting is on full display as a song like this, talking about a guy who just doesn't get it romantically. I think some of the best writing she's ever done, some of the stickiest lines are on this song. And the kind of like call and response stuff she does in the beginning when she's talking about telling her friends things and how she modulates her voice on those moments, like I think that part's very catchy as well. I love this song. To me, it's one of my favorite Nicki songs ever. Number two for me is Lunch by Billie Eilish. Now, this is not the most popular Billie song off the latest album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. That's clearly Birds of a Feather. That song is massive. When I heard the album, I thought Lunch was going to be the biggest hit of them all. I didn't see the Birds of a Feather hype coming. I'm still standing by, though, Lunch. I think that's the best song on the album. That's one of my favorite Billie songs because it's kind of unlike most of the other songs she's made lately, because it's kind of conventional pop melody with Billie Eilish, of all people, doing it. She's so talented as a singer, as a writer, working with Phineas, of course, but like when you do that with like conventional like earworm traits the way you have with the chorus of this song, great stuff. And then on top of it, what she's actually writing about, I find really impressive. The fact that you take pop melody and you put it on a song that's whole chorus is about eating a girl's box. Like, what more can you say? It's very impressive. And even if you're not connecting to the lyrical message, again, the song is just very catchy. It's very well made. It's total earworm. So I'm a huge fan of the song still. And coming in at number one for me, probably unsurprisingly, is Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. The moment I heard this song in June, I believe it was, I was like, oh, well, top song of the year. That's decided. It's over. And come the end of the year, that was true. I mean, a lot's been said about this song. We know it's a big song. I talked a lot about this song's impact, the Drake Kendrick beef. Again, go back, listen to all that. Of course, I reviewed GNX. There's a lot's been said about this song. I think just to kind of distill it down, we can talk about its impact and its musical traits independent of that. Musically, it's just an absolute epic, like LA throwback banger. It's catchy as fuck because there's so many amazing quotables, just great line deliveries, crazy moments. it's so fun to revisit because the beat is so good and reminds you of why, LA and LAG funk is so popular, right? Just look about like the viral videos of like people putting this on for their like young babies and they're bouncing around because this is a song that makes you want to bounce, right? The song itself is great. And then, of course, you talk about the meta nature of Drake or Kendrick defeating Drake in a rap beef with a hit. The thing that they said Kendrick couldn't do to Drake because Drake was the ultimate hit maker. And that's what Drake kind of did to Meek Mill back to back, right? Like the fact that Kendrick defeated Drake at his own game, that's what made this so mind blowing in that front. And then we take it a step further with the recent developments where now Drake is at odds with his label and suing them over the practices he claims they did about promoting Not Like Us, which is also on his own label. Just an absolute miracle, one of the great rap diss tracks, but also just an awesome song in its own regard. I mean, I think about the moment this song had at the Pop Out concert in LA in June, right? Where Kendrick played this song like 6 times in a row. You got Russell Westbrook and DeMar DeRozan, LA natives bopping around to it, right? I mean, just what this song does to people, all the quotables, all the lines, the fact that it's an amazing diss track about what it's saying about Drake and things like that, right? I mean, it's just an absolute miracle of a song, honestly. Just a song I never get tired of as well. It's pretty awesome that this song became so big because it's, I think, so well earned. And of course, we've known how amazing Kendrick has been some time, and he's had plenty of hits to this point. Let's not make any mistake about it. But it's really cool to see him have one of the biggest songs of the year as well. So yeah, that's my top 10. Just to quickly recap, my top 10 songs of 2024, we have Whiplash by aespa, number 10. Number 9, That's So True by Gracie Abrams. Number 8, Etouffee by Vince Staples. Number 7, Happy Music by Headie One. Number 6, $1 Million Baby by Tommy Rickman. Number 5, After Hours by Kehlani. Number 4, Burn by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. Number 3, Focus by Nicki. Number 2, Lunch by Billie Eilish. And number 1, the best song of 2024, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. Again, let me know what were your favorite songs of the year. And of course, before we go, we got to talk about some honorable mentions as well. And I should remind that I have a personal rule where if I take someone's album from my best albums list, I don't take a song from them on the songs list in addition, just to kind of keep that diversity. So as a result, I have some Charlie XCX songs that are honorable mentions because her album is on my list, unsurprisingly. Apple 360 Club Classics Remix. Also loved her song with A.G. Cook, Lucifer. I mentioned Tommy Rickman's Devil's a Lie. Honorable mention for me, Dua Lipa's French Exit, to me the clear highlight of her album that otherwise was a bit disappointing. Tinashe's Nasty, Thames Burning, Shoreline Mafia comeback with Heat Stick, J. Cole's Ready 2024, the Doja Cat Scarlet Deluxe song Urge with A$AP Rocky, 21 Pilots with Backslide, not surprised to see that, Doechii, Alter Ego, and Nissan Altima, Thick by Shy Girl, Jammy Jam, Eric the Architect, Dadvocate by Childish Gambino, Peace You Need, Fred Again, Thank God For Me, Schoolboy Q, and Jump by Tyla. I would say those are all my honorable mentions. Of course, listen to a ton of music. Let me know, though, what were your favorite songs of the year. Of course, everyone has a different list. There's a lot of worthy contenders. Let me know what you were thinking. And of course, see the links below. Best albums, movies, TV, etc. Get it all. Let me know, and I'll see you next time.